Hi, it feels like it's been a while since I was in front of this camera, but it has been a crazy last 2 weeks, to say the least. But I'm here now, and I just turned 26. Woo! I mean, all downhill from here. Am I right? I'm kidding. I say that every time I have a birthday. Um, but it's been good. I don't feel that much of a difference. I don't think you're supposed to. But yeah, happy to be 26, I guess. Much more closer to 30 now than 20, so that is something definitely to think about. Yeah, so this video is just gonna be 10 life lessons that I've learned mainly in the past few years of my life. It's something it's something that can change in the future and most probably will change in the future, but these are the 10 that I really hold very strongly right now. I do consider some of these to be unteachable in the sense that you kind of have to go through them yourself and experience them yourself to fully understand it. But I'm making this so that maybe in case in the future you do go through any one of these and you're like, huh, so that's what he was talking about. So without further ado, let's get started. Life lesson number one for me is no one is coming to save you. Now, I hate to start it off with such a depressing lesson or tone, but I feel like it's one of the most important realizations someone can have. That no one is coming to save you, and ultimately, you are responsible for your own life, which can be a bit unfair, right? Because, you know, the circumstance or situation you're in may not be your fault, and most likely is not your fault. You could have had a terrible childhood and traumatic experiences. So it does suck that even though whatever you're going through was caused by someone else, ultimately you are the one who's responsible for getting yourself out of it. And that can be difficult, but what's the alternative? You know, the alternative is being a victim in your own life, and that will take you down a really bad slope, man. And you gotta break this cycle of victimhood to finally start living your life. You cannot be a victim of your own life, you have to take control of it. Number two, change your perspective on the world and the whole. Wow. Wow. Change your perspective on the world and the whole world changes. Kind of a tongue twister. Uh, yeah, everyone has their own unique perception of the world. It's being filtered through your past experiences, your biases, your values, your environment. All that kind of stuff changes how someone views the world. So, for example, maybe if you've been through a lot of hardships and traumatic events, you see the world as more of a dangerous place, and you're living in like constant anxiety because you're just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. But because everyone has their own unique perception of the world, you can kind of choose to view the world in a way that you like. So what I'm trying to do is to see the world as a more beautiful and happy place, and therefore it will be a more beautiful and happy place for me. It's not always easy because you see the news and you see even the people around you, but yeah, I think changing your perspective on the world, making it seem more like a better place, will just end up changing the reality of your life. Number three, your thoughts are just brain droppings. Or maybe in a better term, don't believe your thoughts. Your brain has been wired and is constantly wiring through the experiences you have in life. So, therefore, the thoughts that your brain makes up are heavily biased to your own unique experiences. And what that means, what you interpret a situation could not be the reality of it at all. For example, if you're having a conversation with someone and they make a face that you don't like, you might think that they're upset or displeased at you, but to them, it could be a completely different scenario, and most likely might be a completely different scenario. So for me, try seeing my thoughts in like a third person view and just observing them like, huh, is this really what it could be, or could it possibly be a different option or outcome has really helped me to not, you know, take things too personally and not believe my thoughts, especially in more anxious moments. So, yeah, your thoughts are heavily biased. Don't believe everything you think. The fourth lesson is everyone is doing what they think is best for them. Now, this is really hard to keep in mind, but it has helped me not take things too personally and not keep grudges and not be as resentful. You know, when someone did you wrong, said something or did something that upset you, keeping in mind that at that moment they truly believe that what they're doing is best for their lives. It doesn't, it doesn't mean that they are not responsible for their actions. It just means that at that moment they thought what they did is best for them. And this kind of mindset is not really for them, but it's for you to not keep resentment in you, because resentment is a poison that only you drink. And if you let that fester in you, it will just change you into like a completely different person. Again, it's not easy, but it has helped me move on, at least from certain people, without carrying the weight of like a grudge. The halfway point, number 5, authenticity beats performance. Now, I know this probably sounds like the most obvious one so far, but yeah, the whole performative male trend, everyone is just trying to be someone they're not, trying to be more nonchalant than they actually are. And I wonder why. Because your own authenticity is the most unique value and the most unique advantage you have in this world. There's literally no one like you in the 8 billion world population. Why would you ever want to be like someone else? That's the greatest advantage you have, is your authenticity. It makes sense in like even in a business perspective, because no one can compete with you at being you. So you already have an advantage, even in a business sense, in that way, that no one can replicate 100% what you're doing with your own unique personality and values. So yeah, authenticity beats performance, and I'm definitely trying my best to be more vulnerable and authentic. And I find that when you practice that yourself, the people around you tend to follow along as well. Number 6, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control your reaction to it. This is the core tenet of Stoic philosophy, and oh my god, this has helped me so much in my interpersonal relationships. Has there ever been a situation where reacting with anger or hate has that made any situation better? I would probably guess not. And this has happened to me so many times in the past. Whenever I'm having an argument or disagreement with someone, I burst and I lash out in anger. And it may feel good in the moment, but a few hours or even days later, I just feel like shit. I feel so much guilt, and I just end up apologizing to that person for reacting like that, anyways. So, why even have that whole period? So, what I like to do now is whenever I'm upset or angry, I try to just pause for a bit, give myself a few seconds, and I won't react initially as how I wanted to. There is a popular saying by this Stoic philosopher Seneca, which he says, "Anger is temporary madness," and it's true. Like, do you look at yourself when you get angry? Your face gets twisted, your voice gets raised, your body posture changes. You say things that you would never say in a rational situation. So, keeping this in mind, keeping in mind that I can't control whatever happens to me, because life will throw everything at you, but you can control how you react to it. Number 7, fill your own cup before you fill the cups of others. Now, initially, just hearing this, you might think it's a very selfish thing to do, but let me explain why it's not. You see this all the time in relationships, where one party or another is constantly sacrificing their needs and wants for the other party. And what ends up happening, that leads to a lot of resentment, a lot of argument, and even potentially breakups, right? If you fulfill your own life, if you fulfill your own self first, you have more to give out of. If you yourself are happy, you can spread that happiness to others. But if you don't even have your own needs filled, how are you supposed to help the people that are close to you? This is why I think filling your own cup before filling up the cups of others is actually a very selfless act and not a selfish one. Because again, you cannot pour out of an empty cup. And the more content and the more happiness you have in your life, the more you'll be able to spread it. And especially in relationships, right? I think the best relationships are when each person is content and happy in their own lives, and then they come together to make something more beautiful. Number 8, the right thing to do is almost always the harder thing to do, or the harder thing to do is almost always the right thing to do. And I use this every time I'm confronted with a difficult decision to make. It's not 100% foolproof, but I find it to be a good guiding compass. Just using the example from earlier, let's say you are having an argument with someone and maybe you said something in the moment that you shouldn't have said. Which is the more difficult option to do? Let it be and just hope that it all goes back to normal a few days later, or actually dropping your ego and going up to the other person and apologizing. Definitely the apologizing, right, is the harder thing to do, but it's most likely the right thing to do. Because in an argument where both of you think that you're on the right side, having the ability to say, hey, I'm really sorry for what I said, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, is a very intimate thing to do. And more often than not, it makes the other person have a lot of respect for the party apologizing. And they might even be like, yeah, thank you for apologizing. I shouldn't have said what I said too. And then it becomes a good situation rather than staying as a festering as a bad situation. You might even be closer from it. Number 9, we're almost there, guys. It's almost always never as bad as you think it's gonna be. Now, this is crazy for a chronic worrier like me, because I'm always trying to think of the worst case scenarios so that I can prepare for it, right? But that just gives me more anxiety, more stress, because how can you possibly prepare for every single scenario there is? It's ridiculous. So whenever I'm faced a situation where I'm like constantly worrying or thinking of the worst case scenarios, I try to remind myself every time I do this, every time I worry like this in the past, when has that worst case scenario ever happened? And the answer would be rarely or even not at all. The worst case scenarios that you're making up in your mind never happens. And again, this is something I try to keep in mind whenever I'm faced with an anxious situation, and it has helped me quite a lot to be less of a chronic worrier. Finally, last but certainly not least, the unknown is where life really is. Now, again, related to number 9, this is crazy for a chronic worrier like me, because I'm always trying to prepare for every single outcome, right? And make sure I know all the different things that could happen so that I'm best prepared for it. But that's not a way to live your life. If I try to recall all the happiest moments and all the best moments in my life, it always comes unexpectedly. Meeting someone new, taking a risk, chasing that dream, all of that kind of fulfillment and happiness comes from the unknown. It doesn't come from gripping so tightly to every single scenario and outcome. The happiest moments are often the most unexpected ones. And in my life, whenever now I'm going to, let's say, a social event or meeting someone new, in my head, I try to remind myself, like, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's okay. So yeah, those are 10 of my life lessons that I've learned in the past few years of my life. Again, I think some of these can change in the near future, but I feel like I've heard these kinds of lessons echoed from much more smarter people than me before. So I don't know. I'm open for them to change, but I think I'll be sticking to these 10 for a really long time. I hope you guys found some of this useful or helpful, or Otherwise, I just hope you enjoy hearing me yap. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.